Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you for joining me here. We're going to go ahead and take a look at MATIC Network. It's essentially a third look at the network because of the fact that there has been a lot of price action, a lot of price movement in the last 48 to 72 hours. So I want to ensure that you understand big picture what that looks like, and if you are just getting in today, I want to make sure you understand good entry points and perhaps ways to essentially make profit on this currency. Now, before we get started, I'm not a financial advisor. I want you to do your own research. This is for educational purposes only. Also, contact me on Instagram, Telegram, or Twitter to essentially allow for you to stay in the know with the videos, but more importantly, engage in the community, because that's really a great way to be able to learn more about how to become a better trader. That's the whole point of this, right? And without further ado, let's go ahead and get right to it. All right, folks, let's go ahead and take a look at MATIC Network. And what we're going to do here is just kind of business as usual. We're going to look at the 15-minute chart to get quick perspective on what's going on, and then just kind of quickly highlight Bitcoin, confirm the price action over there as well, because that does influence a lot of price on other coins, and then move on to look at the 1 day, 4 hour, and then 15-minute back again to essentially just get big picture and then work our way down. Alright, so here's the 15-minute chart, and I got some of my previous support and resistance levels left open from the last time I reviewed this. And for MATIC, see here yesterday, we were in this channel here, and it broke up, bounced off of the resistance level, the support level there, and then continue on to respect the VWAP until it eventually broke. Okay. Then it kind of did its little consolidation thing here and spiked back up again today, and then another set of retracement moving forward there. So that's kind of just a quick little big picture bird's eye view essentially of what's going on. We'll get deeper into that in a moment, but let's take a look at Bitcoin really quick. And there's not a lot to really note here except for the fact that Bitcoin did test the 100-day moving average and get rejected. Again, this is the 4-hour chart. To me, these moving averages work the best, and generally speaking, the 200-day moving average is going to be the big one to try to come across. That's at right around 57,000. That's kind of the next milestone for Bitcoin. But for right now, just know that there's just normal Bitcoin movement, at least compared to what it usually does. And there's not a lot of price movement right now. It tried to break up today, break out in an upward direction, but that was rejected by the 100-day moving average. Okay, so that's kind of what Bitcoin's doing right now. Nothing super special. But moving back to MATIC, let's go ahead and take a look at the 1-day chart, and we'll work our way down. And as we can see, the massive price increase from yesterday and today, the last couple of days here, pretty substantial. And something we just want to note, first of all, RSI is still considered overbought. It's right around 78, and the MACD is again overextended. There's likelihood of this breaking out again, but it will need to break through the resistance level of, what was it? Resistance about 90 cents. Okay, so that's going to be the next milestone, if you will. But yeah, kind of normal stuff on the 1-day chart, not too much different than last time I reviewed this. So just note that, and then let's take a quick look at the 4-hour chart here. And what's kind of nice is the fact that the price is not considered extremely overbought any longer. So it's at just in the upper 60s, so that's a decent sign there. And then of course, MACD is kind of the same as the 1-day chart. It is essentially considered overextended right now, and does look like the momentum is shifting towards bearish sentiment. Looking at the moving averages, don't even worry about those right now. They're so far off that it's going to take a while for them to catch up. Next couple of weeks, I would say we'll start seeing those get tested depending on how the price action continues. If the price does drop and there's a sell-off, then we can go ahead and maybe consider using that as a support level, but that is essentially where we're at there. Alright, so let's go ahead and take a closer look at the 15-minute chart and just kind of identify what's going on here, because as we can see, there's somewhat consolidation since yesterday's price action, and then it did ramp up, and then we're seeing a little bit more of a sell-off. So what we want to look at first, as per usual, is just to identify where the VWAP is. So the VWAP is essentially the volume weighted average price, is this blue line here, and what's going on is the price is traveling below that. It's testing the VWAP right now. So if you're planning to take entry in the near future, always make sure that the price stays above the volume weighted average price, and it stays above for at least 30 to 60 minutes. The reason why I say that is because you look at these, the previous time it tried to test the VWAP, right? See, it came down and it came back up here. Now there wasn't two 15-minute green bars here. It essentially stayed above for only maybe 15 to 30 minutes and came back down. So again, you want to have confirmation. You want at least 2 to 3 15-minute green bars before you take entry. I believe that's just a really good way to do things. It's worked very well for me, of course, but that's my thought process there on taking entry on just the VWAP alone. Okay. Obviously, we want to look at other indicators too, but that is essentially a good foundation to kind of work with. Also note as well, the 50-day moving average is working as a potential support here, but again, the 50-day moving average isn't a super strong indicator on a 15-minute time frame. It's more relevant on a 4-hour chart. Okay. And then we just quickly note as well, RSI is not considered overbought. So if you look here previously, just to kind of give you an idea of how the RSI is working, anytime the RSI goes over 70, it's typically followed by a sell-off. So if you see up here, the all-time high, well actually no, it's not the all-time high, came close. That's 88 cents, where the all-time high was 90. In fact, let's go ahead and mark that really quick. It almost tested the all-time high right around 88 cents, and you can see the RSI was too high. Same thing comes with here. Look at this. RSI is at 82, way outside of the range of being overbought, and as you can see, it came crashing back down. So again, what goes up must come down. Keep that in mind. Anytime you see a price that goes that high, it might be a good indication to consider selling or trimming off the top. Me, whenever I see the RSI over 70, I never take action. First of all, I don't take entry. Even if there's really strong continuous higher highs, I don't bother with that. What I do bother with is taking profit. So I take my profit right around here. As soon as you see the price going up above the 70 level on the RSI, it's a pretty good sign that it's going to be a reversal soon. It doesn't always happen, but for the most part, I can say it's more likely than not going to occur. So if you're looking for, how do I take profits? How do I get little bits here and there? That's the good thing to look for on the RSI, on the 15-minute chart, is to see when the RSI is overextended. It's not as beneficial when you're looking at a 4-hour or a 1-day chart, because it's such a large time frame that you really truly don't know when to get out and when to get in, right? So on the 15-minute chart, I feel like it's the best to use RSI to find a good entry point, or more importantly, find a good exit point to exit strategy. And when I say trim, I'm referring to maybe taking 10 to 20% off the top. So if you're just say you've got a large position on MATIC right now, next time you see it come up and shoot above 70 on the RSI, maybe consider taking 10 to 20%, sell that percent, and wait for the price to calm back down, like it kind of has here. For example, had you done that up here, the price calms down, comes back down to test the support level. That might have been a good, decent consideration to enter back into the market with that percent that you removed, and essentially you're averaging your price down, in turn inflating the price when it comes back up. Okay. So again, just something to consider there, but that's kind of a good action plan there. So in this scenario here, right now as is, I would wait for the 15-minute chart to reflect 2 15-minute green bars here. So we want to see 2 green bars before we consider taking entry on the volume weighted average price. Okay. Again, that works really well for me. Just bear in mind that there is a resistance level up here, so you'd want to set your goal to consider taking a small entry point here. Say for example, we get 2 green bars. We'd add somewhere in the range of just say 25 to 30%. And as we get closer to our goal here, we would start selling that portion that we entered in with. In other words, if I get close to this resistance level, I would see how it reacts as soon as it tests and rejects, and just say that closes in a 15-minute red bar, then I would likely consider trimming a little bit off the top. In other words, getting out with what I put in. So that's kind of my thought process. There's how I kind of approach this. We probably should look a little bit closer, so let's go ahead and look at the 1-minute chart. And we'll just turn off these moving averages. As you can see, the price is, it keeps testing the volume weighted average price, the VWAP. So you want to wait for it to stay above. Again, I recommend 30 minutes above the VWAP. This has probably been a good 10 or 15 right here. So if we see it consistently staying above the volume weighted average price for another 10 or 15 more minutes, that might be a consideration to enter. Another thing we want to look at is the retracement tool. So if you guys are familiar with this, it's a good way to kind of understand what the industry leaders are essentially doing when they are entering and exiting the market, causing the price to likely shift in different directions. So for the most part, this movement that you see here isn't the little guys like us, it's the industry leaders that are affecting the price significantly with their large positions. So what we do is we just take a look at this, we put it at the lowest point after retracement. So this is retracement here, and we take it right here and go all the way up to the very top. Now what's kind of cool about this is it does highlight specific support and resistance levels. So if we're looking up here, this line right here is essentially a support level. So the price rejects, it could bounce off of this line here. Okay, so something just to consider. Now, what I always recommend doing when we use these kind of charts is to be less greedy than the other guy, right? So these industry standards are going to hold true to these lines. So what you want to do is be smart and essentially hold true to lines minus a small percent. So in other words, say you take an entry down here, okay? Say you took entry right down here, and you want to get this gains, you want to get up to here. Well, what you do is you set your limit. In other words, you want to try to get out somewhere in this range before it gets all the way to the top and it passes that point. Because if there's a reversal, then you would have been out and essentially done with no skin in the game, and then if it decides it wants to reverse, then you would be okay. Now this scenario is not the best example because the price is still going up, but the general concept is true here. In other words, always find a good point to exit. So here's just to further that a little bit better. Say you were working your way up to this goal here. So instead of trying to get out right at that exact line, which most of them are getting out at, why not get out a little early? Because you see what happens up here? Massive, massive sell-off, and it essentially retraces itself back down. So again, I just want to recommend that you take profits when you can. Try not to be greedy. I guess that's a good way to put it. Be less greedy than the other guys. And the other guys are the industry leaders that are calling the shots. You kind of think about how they think and do what they're planning to do, but just be a step ahead of them. So the way I see it, I've had a lot more success by getting in or out just before they decide to do so, and in turn, miss out on those massive price hikes or decreases. So again, just something to consider. This seems kind of crazy at first, but I can tell you that just kind of understanding the general concept of where they commonly set their support and resistance levels based on the retracements really helps a lot to just kind of plan effectively instead of just jumping in willy-nilly. Now I like to usually make these support and resistance lines myself because they tend to be a little bit more specific. These are based on again, averages that others use. I like to create my own lines, but personally this is still just as effective if you use it. So maybe consider this when taking entry in this scenario here. But just to kind of go back here to the line, take a look at this here. We'll get rid of this guy. You can see it's still testing this line, but it keeps bouncing off of this support here. So there's a strong chance that the price could continue upwards from here. But just keep in mind that we've got a, there it is. We've got a resistance level up at 90 cents. So it bounces off VWAP and you take entry here and it starts crawling back up. Be mindful that we have a strong resistance level right around 88 to 90 cents. So I would consider again taking a small entry at this point. As you get closer to your goal, start taking a small percentage of that out. And by the time you get close to that resistance level, you should be completely out. And if the price decides it wants to increase and test the resistance level and stay above, wait for 30 minutes and then add to your position do the exact same thing over again. Add maybe 25 to 30%, and then see where it goes. Because again, the beautiful thing about not going all in is the fact that you have the opportunity to be able to recover. Because just say you did 2 really good trades that were, you know, good 2 or 3%, and then, you know, that very last one is only, you know, a 1 or 2% loss. They're not like exponentially losing. You're still in the green as long as you are very careful with your entry point and you're not taking, you know, risky entries. Because again, I've mentioned this before, I'm fairly risk averse. So, you know, even though there's always a risk when trading, I prefer to go with, you know, more certain deals, and I'm okay with small percent wins each day versus large losses. And I just speak from experience because over the years I've, you know, lost plenty. Thankfully I'm in the green now, but it's all because I have structure and I know essentially when to get in and when to get out before all these other industry leaders do, right? So that's why I want to show you the Fibonacci tool. I can do other videos to explain these tools maybe a little bit more effectively if you'd like. Please feel free to let me know that. But for now, hopefully you found this to be beneficial, and let's see where this goes. Hopefully it stays above VWAP and continues to progress upwards closer to the 90-cent range and breaks that resistance. So if you did find benefit from this video, please consider liking and subscribing. Thank you so much for joining. Again, join our Telegram community as well. We've got some really awesome people there. A great way for us to all communicate and stay in contact. I'm constantly communicating with my subscribers, and you know, we stay engaged, and just I've been able to help some really awesome people so far. So thank you so much for your time. Hope you have a great rest of your day. We'll see you in the next video. Thank you.